All I can say about this week's episode of Steins Gate Zero is hot damn. This episode was thrilling, it sent chills up my spine. Everything about this episode was so damn great. Just seeing how we're leaning back into that mad scientist role, right off the bat, you're just thinking to yourself, this has to be the stupidest and most insane plan of all time, but it's perfect for Okabe. The fact that in order to get back to 2011, our man has to jump 3,000 times is ridiculous. Even though they overcame a couple-day barrier, he can time jump a couple of weeks. The fact that he would have to relive 3,000 times, the idea of waking up and just having to experience all that pain every single time, having to explain time after time, I came from the future. That would drive most people insane. That is like the definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. But Okabe is insane. That's the thing with it, and it's so perfect. And I love it feels like it mirrors a lot of what we saw with the first series when Okabe had to relive Mayuri's constant death, but instead of it being mind-shattering and just numbing the pain, here what we have is Okabe rising to the occasion, reclaiming what he once lost, that lab coat, that name, that mad scientist laugh, the delusions in his head. This was like the ultimate test. Does he deserve to be the mad scientist again? And 100% does he. Just seeing how he was waking up, like I was expecting it to feel very much like the first series where he's just kind of breaking down, but no, we get him just kind of like rising to the occasion, showing everyone, I am back, there is hope, we will change the future, everything isn't lost. I felt inspired, like this is a fake story, this isn't real, but I was kind of like, alright Okabe, let's change the future. I was feeling inspired with him. Just seeing the characters and just seeing his drive to change the future. And when he actually does end up getting back to 2011, how he asked Daru to punch him, get out all your anger, waking up, that mad scientist laugh, Maho not understanding, like, what the hell is wrong with this guy? Why is Daru excited? Like, what is going on here? This is something that makes Steins Gate Zero so great. It feels different from the first series, but has the elements that we really liked about that first series while doing something completely new. Like, something like this shouldn't have happened until the end of the series. Like, Okabe had to fail. He had to give up. He had to see wars. He had to see what his choice ultimately led to, and the fact that he can't give up, and to build up to this in just such a beautiful way was fantastic, especially just how he pulled, consider this be one of his greatest moves in all of Steins Gate, pulling one over on the professor, showing Shining Fingers actually under the helmet there. Kagari was kind of withheld, the professor was down there, like, he just had, like, he used all his knowledge from the future. Professor gets knocked out, everything seemingly is hopeful, but of course, for whatever reason, nothing can ever be truly hopeful in Steins Gate, at least until you get to the end, because ultimately it looks like something's gonna have to be changed. I'm curious, like, if we're going to see the rubble of the time machine, or if there's going to be no rubble present. Like, the time machine has no parts damaged. Did they actually successfully time jump, or is Okabe going to have to try to figure out one more plan for everything to kind of succeed? The rockets came in far too early. Are we going to start next week's episode? There's going to be no damaged time machine. Did they successfully leap, or is Okabe going to have to try again? I don't totally know what they're going to go for here. Part of me wants to believe that they did successfully time leap for once, but it's hard to say. Maybe they did time leap, but it's going to be a little damage, maybe not as much damage. It's hard to say, but like, for how inspirational this episode was and how much it just gave you a very feels-good kind of feeling and atmosphere for this episode, if something bad had to happen at the end of the episode, so be it. I mean, 99% of this episode was just absolute, you're smiling, you're like, Okabe is going through so much hell, he's reliving this thing 3,000 times. Maybe we do need a little bit of suffering to kind of balance everything out. It's hard to say exactly where they're going to go, but I'm pretty excited nonetheless. But seriously though, this episode, the directing was fantastic, and it wasn't just the overall visual directing, it was the sound direction. The music was very relevant to these scenes. Like, it was very loud, it was in your face, but it kind of gave you those chills. Like, you're just like, okay, I'm feeling inspired. I'm in the same mindset as Okabe right now. I'm feeling like I want to get to the past the same as Okabe. The way the voice acting was being handled, from obviously Okabe's just killer Japanese voice actor here, just really stealing the show, the way he was kind of like breaking down, but then he kind of was slowly but kind of at a pretty steady pace building back into that mad scientist role. So when he finally did do the insane laugh, when he did finally relive, kind of like go back and grab that name that he once lost, like there was a steady growth. It didn't just feel like his actor was kind of like flipping it on and off. It was like over this episode, you felt the steady growth to build up into the mad scientist with Daru, Maho, AI Kurisu, like everything about the voice acting was fantastic, but I really think the music is what stole the show for the soundtracking. Like, you were just like, holy hell, like, I just felt inspired. I was like, this is amazing with the actual visual directing, like the way they were playing around with time, really having some pretty experimental art techniques to kind of show him jumping back 3,000 times. Like, I'm glad the first half of this episode was him jumping back, with the second half then Okabe being back in 2011. I was a little worried that we were going to speed past it, like we were only going to see maybe 1 or 2 time jumps, but I was happy with how much we did see. I felt like we got a good enough understanding of how he was dealing with it. I was really happy that we did time jump back to where he was essentially captured and then gets killed in 2025. I was happy to see how he overcame that. It was a really smart technique of kind of disabling the app on his phone, enabling it on everyone else's, so Okabe was kind of like everywhere. Really smart thing to do. I really like how he overcame his kind of like set death and how everything was functioning there. Like, this was a very smart episode. It was directed beautifully, you felt inspired, everything about how this episode was presented. This is like Steins Gate at its best, if not even better. Like, I might even be willing to say this is the best episode currently of all of Steins Gate in terms of anime. I really like it. The final stretch of this anime has been fantastic. We know ultimately where it's leading to. We know how this translates to the first series. I'm just really excited to see how the final 2 episodes are going to play out, and also how the OVA episode that's being bundled with the anime is going to connect to Steins Gate Zero. Overall, fantastic episode. Directing, 10 out of 10. I'm probably just going to go rewatch the episode now. It was so good. Let me know what you're feeling down in that comment section below. Your favorite moment. What did you think? Let me know. And if you enjoyed the video, remember to like it. And also be sure to subscribe to the channel if you happen to be new. But until next time, everyone, please take care and have a good one.